As a writer, Natasha Stoynoff is used to seeing her name as a byline, but not necessarily as a headline. But all of that changed last October. Stoynoff went public with a story about being assaulted by Donald Trump, an assault she says happened while she was working for People magazine 11 years ago. Well, Trump denied all of it, bashing her physical appearance in the process. Stoynoff's decision to come forward in the first place sprung from a collaboration she had been working on about body, confidence, and also female empowerment. And that collaboration is now this book. It's called Curvy and Confident, the latest installment in the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And Natasha joins us this morning in studio to talk about the book and so much more. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Very, very busy day, and congratulations on the book. It's
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely read. We are going to get to the Trump essay in just a moment, but I want to start with the idea that when people think, oh, she's got a book, thinking, oh, could this be like a tell-all? Is this going to be throwing mud against the wall against certain people? That's not what this book is. In fact, you say when you finished it, this was a book of empowerment and confidence and feeling uplifted. Take us through that journey and how it is that that book is what it is to you today.
Yes, we were already working on that book. We were on the tail end of that book, Amy and Emmy and I, when all that happened with my essay. And the synchronicity and timing was eerie, because we were talking about body issues, and we had just read thousands of stories of women, from women, and a couple of men too, addressing this issue and talking about their deep, deep, deep feelings and struggles regarding things people say about how they look, you know, and feeling shamed about how they look. And then all that happened. So I wrote that story. It was really just sort of an organic thing that happened. It just seemed right to write it for the book, how I was feeling at the time with what was going on. And the book is really, you mentioned uplifting, because to me, it's like spending a week with 100 best girlfriends, not just one or two, but 100. I mean, Emmy and I were reading those stories over several weeks, and we were laughing and crying, and I wanted to call up each contributor. And it was so hard to choose because we had thousands of stories, great stories, and we have enough for like several books. So it really is like even though many of the stories are about struggle, it's all uplifting because it's about finding confidence, you know, for your body shape.
One of the chapters is actually about you. You actually wrote, and it was a letter that you fell upon, that you wrote to a cousin of yours when you were 12 years old. And you actually shared in this letter with your cousin that at 12, you were going to be going on a diet. And it was all about weight, and clearly quite body obsessed, as a lot of 12-year-olds are. Reading that as an adult and going through your journey, what was that like?
Again, it was a weird timing thing, because she sent that letter to me while we were working on the book. And when I read it, it was a kind of bittersweet, because there you are, I was 12 years old, and I had all this young energy, and my future was ahead of me, but I was telling her about going on this diet. And I remember that moment. And I was this athletic kid, and I thought, I didn't need to, lose any weight, but I thought this is a turning point for many girls. When they're hit puberty and people start saying things to them, and don't eat that, you're going to get fat, and you should go on a diet, and it changes the course of how you think about yourself. So that was bittersweet for me, reading that letter. And that's why I wrote the response, where
You write to that self.
I know, because don't you wish you could go back and advise yourself? But especially I wish I could talk to all the 12-year-old girls in the world and say don't do this. You're so beautiful, and the diet treadmill gets you on a negative path.
This book was the impetus for you to finally share your Trump story 11 years after it had happened. And you write that it was actually your co-author, Amy, who said to you, over the course of putting this together, she said, quote, Natasha, when are you finally going to write about your Trump experience? So what finally made you say, you know what? I'm going to share my story of what happened to me with Trump 11 years ago.
Well, we were actually all together, Amy, Emmy, and I, when that Access Hollywood tape came out.
And that's the Billy Bush tape.
Yes, and that's when Amy said those words to me. And we had just finished, as I said, reading all these stories. And the contributors, I was so moved by them, by how brave they were to talk about very intimate things in the stories that they sent us. And I thought, they're so brave and strong and sharing. I think that I should too. I just felt that I didn't want to let them down. And this is also how we help other women speak out. These women were speaking out, they helped me speak out, and hopefully with what I wrote, that would help other women speak out when someone does something that hurts them.
The response was swift from Trump, of course, denying all of the allegations that you had written about in your People magazine essay. And he said, quote, look at her. Look at her words. You tell me what you think. I don't think so. And so when you talk about physical appearance and thinking back at that 12-year-old girl, now fast forwarding to be this empowered woman, and this man who is running for the highest office in the land says, look at her. What did that do to you?
Well, it brought back the themes, again, that we were working on in the book about how people say things to women about their appearance that they have no right to say, that harms them. And again, it's another reason why I wrote that second story. I kind of figure that's the story in the book is like part 2 of the first one, like a follow-up on how I then dealt with him saying that. And, you know, I didn't want to hide away. I just wanted to be brave.
And that continues with you continuing to share your story with us here on Your Morning. So we really appreciate your candor and your bravery. And thank you for writing this book. It's a lovely, lovely read.
Thank you so much.